Hello and welcome to Sunday's edition of News Tonight. I'm Ashwarya Kapoor with you. Now, around 60 people are dead as floods and landslides have hit West Bengal, Manipur and Odisha. That is our top focus. Also, we'll be looking at government's fresh bid to end Parliament deadlock. An all-party meeting is scheduled for Monday. But first up, the headlines that we are tracking. Cyclonic storm Koman brings heavy rains in eastern India. Lakhs of people marooned. Over 60 people killed in West Bengal and Manipur. Heavy rains flood Myanmar, leaving at least 27 people dead. Over 150,000 people displaced. Congress parliamentary meeting tomorrow to fine-tune strategy in Parliament. Government calls all-party meet to break deadlock. And elated family members await return of freed Indians on Monday. Government says all efforts are being made to secure the release of the other 2 Indians that are held captive. Well, our top focus, cyclonic storm Koman has weakened into a deep depression, but it has brought very heavy rains in the eastern part of the country, leaving it in a state of deluge. Over 60 people have died, mostly in West Bengal and Manipur. Now, lakhs have been left marooned and vast lands of crops have been affected.
The aftermath of Cyclone Koman has hit large parts of Bengal, Odisha and Manipur. Heavy rains have caused floods and landslides over the past couple of days. Manipur is suffering from the worst floods in years. National disaster relief teams have been rushed to Imphal after nearly 20 people were killed in a landslide that destroyed a village.
To go to that place by road is completely, not possible. So we have asked air support from NDRF. So NDRF has sent a chopper last night. So they have been airlifted from the Guwahati. So we have sent the first team to the place of incidents.
वेस्ट बंगाल में हमारी 9 टीमें लगी हैं. आज ही सुबह 2 टीमें हमने बर्दवान डिस्ट्रिक्ट में भेजा, जहां पे बारिश के कारण वाटर लॉगिंग की स्थिति आ गई. मणिपुर की स्थिति में कुछ डिस्टर्बिंग न्यूज आए हैं. वहां पे एक जगह है, जो एक गांव है, उस गांव में ये बताया जा रहा है कि लैंडस्लाइड के कारण गांव पूरा बह गया है और वहां पे लगभग 12 घरें हैं और उसमें 20 लोगों के मरने की आशंका बताई जाती है.
Landslides at several locations along the stretch of Imphal-Moray highway has cut off the state capital. Swollen rivers in southern Mizoram rendered hundreds of families homeless. But some of the worst affected areas are in West Bengal, where 12 districts are experiencing flood-like situation. At least 39 people died and over 1 lakh people ended up in relief camps. Farmland of over 21 lakh hectare has been submerged. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee visited some of the relief camps in the affected districts. In Odisha, almost 5 lakh people are in relief camps. Authorities were prepared to tackle any emergency condition.
Affected हुए थे 1,74,000 करीब. बट जो अभी 3 दिन पहले जो हुआ था, that was the worst situation. And in all the major rivers like Subarnarekha, Budha Balanga and Jalka, the water level were running much higher than the danger level, and the worst situation is over now.
Heavy rain as well as surface runoff is expected in Baleshwar and other districts. All the concerned authorities have been alerted and we are prepared to face and respond to any possible flood situation.
The monsoonal depression that spawned Koman moved offshore from Bangladesh before strengthening over the Bay of Bengal, but it soon reversed its course and moved back towards shore. The heavy rains are likely to continue for next 24 hours and could worsen the situation. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And heavy rains are not wreaking havoc only in India. In Myanmar as well, heavy monsoon rains over the last month have left at least 27 people dead and it has displaced more than 150,000 others. 4 natural disaster zones were declared a day after Cyclone Koman made a landfall in neighbouring Bangladesh. Rescue efforts are underway, but rescuers are struggling to access the flood-hit areas.
At least 27 people killed due to floods in Myanmar. The UN has warned the toll could rise in the coming days. Monsoon rains have been particularly severe in the 4 western regions of the country that have been declared disaster zones. Water levels as high as 2.5 meters were reported in Sagaing and 4.5 meters in the western Rakhine state. Wind and rain from Cyclone Komin added to the damage. The United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs estimated that the floods affected close to 156,000 people in 12 districts. Rescue teams have not yet reached many areas and are still awaiting reports on the worst-hit regions. This year's floods have so far destroyed at least 30,000 acres of farmland and damaged 73,000 more. Myanmar President Thein Sein visited the worst-affected rural region in Kalay Township on Sunday. He spoke to evacuees at a monastery that is being used as a temporary evacuation shelter. The Red Cross says Myanmar was facing a big disaster. Worse still is the forecast of heavy rains in many states, including Chin, Rakhine and Magwe, over the next 2 days. More than 500,000 acres of rice paddy fields are also flooded. Myanmar is experiencing its worst floods after Cyclone Nargis devastated the Irrawaddy Delta in May 2008, killing about 140,000 people. Elsewhere, floods in Vietnam left at least 17 people dead, while in western Nepal, some 36 people were killed in landslides triggered by torrential rains. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And on to political news now. Well, the government is pinning its hopes on an all-party meeting tomorrow to bring back the monsoon session on track. But the stumbling block remains the opposition's demand for resignations of ministers who are involved in various controversies. The BJP says that there is no question of accepting that demand.
2 weeks gone. The government is making a fresh attempt to resolve the deadlock in Parliament with an all-party meeting on Monday. The Congress, however, wants what it calls a tangible proposal from the Prime Minister in order to attend the meeting.
I don't want to blame anybody, and nothing is going to be achieved by allegation and counter-allegation. My request to the Congress party opposition is, please allow the Parliament to function. Whatever you want to say it on the floor of the House.
Along with the left and other opposition parties, it is demanding the resignations of Sushma Swaraj, Vasundhara Raje and Shivraj Singh Chauhan in the Lalit Modi and Vyapam controversies. Hours before the all-party meet, Congress chief Sonia Gandhi will address the party's parliamentary party meeting to further fine-tune its response. This will be the first meeting of the CPP general body in the session.
Parliament is a vibrant institution in our country, but to run the Parliament, it is the primary responsibility of government. Now, Parliament is not working because of government. The government's arrogant, adamant position. Opposition parties have made a simple, straightforward demand. The tainted ministers should quit. Once they quit, there can be a meaningful discussion in the House.
सरकार वार्ता में इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है, प्रचार और प्रसार में ज्यादा इंटरेस्टेड है। ऐसा लग रहा दोषारोपण वो विपक्ष पे करना चाहते हैं और खुद सदन नहीं चलने देते, चूंकि वो दोषी हैं। उनसे इस्तीफे की मांग करी गई उनके तमाम लोगों से। दो मुख्यमंत्री पूर्ण रूप से दोषी हैं, तो ऐसे में जिम्मेदारी सरकार की बनती है। जो सरकार विपक्ष पे आरोप लगा रहा है, हम इसको पूर्णतः नकारते हैं।
So far, the BJP has shown no signs of accepting the no resignation, no discussion demand of the opposition. It has offered instead a reply by External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj in Parliament and a discussion on the Lalit Modi controversy, but is calling the Vyapam scam a state issue. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, the monsoon session of Parliament will be in its third week starting tomorrow. A key item of business was a set of 8 new bills that the government intended to get through Parliament. Now, these included the Whistleblowers Protection Amendment Bill 2015 that is listed to be taken by the Rajya Sabha tomorrow.
In 2011, the UPA took up the Whistleblowers Protection Bill, mainly to shield people exposing corruption. The bill, however, ran into trouble over disclosures relating to national security. The NDA government has proposed to fix that by adding appropriate safeguards to the act.
There should not be any amendment, because what I tell the government servant, obviously he'll be a senior government servant, If it is not good for the government or security of the state, sovereignty of India and so on, if it's not good, he can just keep it to himself, no harm caused.
The proposed amendments rule out disclosures if the information could affect India's sovereignty, its security, strategic, scientific or economic interests or foreign relations. They also disallow disclosures that incite any offence, cause breach of privilege of Parliament or state assemblies. Also ruled out are cabinet papers, deliberations of ministers, secretaries and officers, except as provided under the Right to Information Act. Disclosures are also ruled out in the case of court or tribunal bans.
Firstly, it is going to limit their activity. That is very obvious. But what is not obvious is that then he may be prompted to use means other than legal to avail these information. Now, there is a catch there. You see, whistleblowing is not going to stop, but the means may be spying, may be getting information through other illegal means. These might arise as a mischief in the society.
The Whistleblowers Protection Act empowers public servants or any other person to make public interest disclosures before a competent authority. The law intends to protect such people from harassment by keeping their identities secure. The rules guiding the disclosures override the Official Secrets Act of 1923. The Lok Sabha passed the bill on 13th of May this year.
Although the government has approved quite a few amendments in the Whistleblowers Act 2011, still they seem to have missed few things which would make difference if they are added. One important thing which is missing in the bill is that the government does not define what would lead to the victimization of the whistleblower. Also, if the whistleblower faces retaliatory action from the government, how would he seek redress? With camera person MS Suresh, Dipali Pandit, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in News Tonight, we'll take a very short break. Up next, more wreckage of plane recovered from the Reunion Island. Probe is on to find out if it is from the missing MH370 flight. Details to follow. Stay with us. Welcome back after the break. You're watching News Tonight. Now, 2 of the 4 Indians released by their Islamic State captors in Libya have been brought to the Indian embassy in Tripoli. Elated family members have been told to expect them back home by Monday. The MEA has also assured that no efforts are being spared to free the other 2 captive Indians as well.
News of the release of the 2 abducted Indians in Libya coming as a huge relief for their loved ones in India. Anxious family members are eagerly awaiting the return of Lakshmikant and Vijay Kumar, who secured their freedom from captivity from Islamic State terrorists.
Safe ಆಗಿದ್ದೀವಿ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತಿದ್ದೀನಿ ಈಗ ಟ್ರಿಪೋಲಿ ಎಂಬಸಿಗೆ ಹೋಗ್ತೀವಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಸೇಫ್ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬರ್ತಾರೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು
ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಕರ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋದ್ರು ಏನಾದರೂ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ಅದು
ಏನು ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ನನಗೆ ಅವ್ರ ಸೌಂಡ್ ಕೇಳಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ಖುಷಿ ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಆಯ್ತು ಸೇಫ್ ಆಗಿ ಬರ್ರಿ ನಾವು ನಿಮ್ಗೆ ವೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ದೀವಿ ಅಂತ ಅಷ್ಟೇ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ ಸರ್ ಅದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಏನು ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಷನ್ ಕೇಳಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್ ಡೀಟೇಲ್ ಆಗಿ ನಾನು
The 2 men are currently stopping over at the Indian embassy in Tripoli and will leave for Tunisian capital Tunis shortly. They are expected to fly home on Monday. In a Twitter message, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj said the government is trying to get the other hostages released as well. The other 2 Indians still in captivity are Balram and Gopi Krishna, but no information is available on their whereabouts. There are no demands for ransom either.
We are not getting any information from the embassy that when they are going to release. Every day I am making calls and I am getting the hope that by that day, by evening, I may be getting the information or I may be getting a phone call from my husband. But till now, I didn't get any information that when they are going to release it. So, I mean, I'm very much tension and it is mental agony for me and my children.
External Affairs Minister Srimati Sushma Swaraj ji, and she is in touch with them, their country, their embassy and their counterparts, and they are all, the government of India and herself, they are making all out efforts to release these 2 hostages also.
Sushma Swaraj reportedly briefed the Prime Minister on the steps taken to secure their release. The MEA said they were in constant touch with the families and are hopeful of an early release. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And in other news, ahead of the RBI's monetary policy announcement on Tuesday, industry is clamouring for a rate cut. While retail inflation surged in June, the wholesale price inflation remained in negative territory. Well, despite a decent monsoon in July, the fears of deficit monsoon affecting crops has not subsided yet. All these could force the RBI to keep the rates unchanged.
With retail inflation showing no signs of abating, the RBI faces a tough choice on cutting rates second time this fiscal. Industry chambers argue that decline in the international crude oil prices post the Iran nuclear deal and a negative wholesale price inflation have given more room to RBI to accommodate industry's demand. The plunge in the factory output measured by the Index of Industrial Production to 2.7% in May compared with 3.36% in April has also fueled demands of rate cut from the RBI in its next policy review.
The industry is hoping that the RBI governor will be giving a push to the growth and the repo rate will be reduced in this forthcoming policy at least by 25 basis points.
However, the RBI tracks the consumer price inflation for its monetary policy decisions. Retail inflation remained lower than RBI's target of 6% in June. It rose to an 8-month high of 5.4%. Meanwhile, the wholesale price index-based inflation has remained negative for the last 8 months and stood firm at -2.4% in June. The impact of unseasonal rains is still reflective on prices of vegetables, especially onions. IMD's prediction of a deficient monsoon still remains, keeping the RBI on the back foot.
It will be perhaps a very conservative approach. Maybe if you see, RBI was predicting about 6% increase in inflation, which has been 5.2 to 5.4%. If still they want to be very conservative, obviously it will have adverse impact on industry or infrastructure growth or economic development.
The RBI had cut the short-term lending rate for the third time in its last monetary policy to spur investment and growth. But it also hinted that there may not be any more cuts in the near term. It remains to be seen whether Governor Raghuram Rajan surprises the markets or adopts a cautious approach. Kriti Mishra's report for Rajya Sabha TV.
And more national news and updates in Nationwide. Pakistani Rangers violated the ceasefire along the international border in the Arispura sector of Jammu last night. This was the second ceasefire violation along the border in 12 hours. No one was injured during the firing. There have been 18 ceasefire violations along the Indo-Pak border in July, in which 4 people, including 3 Jawans, were killed. Pakistan has released 163 Indian fishermen as a goodwill gesture. The move comes after a recent understanding between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif in Russia. Those freed today included an 11-year-old boy. They are being taken to Wagah border and will be handed over to the Indian authorities on Monday. The demand for an AIIMS hospital in Jammu continues amid agitation by the AIIMS Coordination Committee. Jammu Bandh, launched by them, entered its third day on Sunday. The protesters are demanding an AIIMS hospital in the region for better health care. The police has imposed Section 144 as a precautionary measure. The Delhi Congress staged a protest against the AAP government today, demanding the appointment of a Lokpal. Party leader Ajay Makan alleged that the AAP government is spending money on advertisements instead of using it for the development of the poor. Makan also accused the government of forgetting their promise of appointing a Lokpal. Maoists are observing a week-long shutdown in Odisha in memory of rebel leaders killed by the security forces. Security has been beefed up in the insurgent-probe areas. On Saturday, the police killed 3 Maoist rebels, including 2 woman cadres, in an encounter in Malkankiri district. Well, on to international news now. A second piece of plane debris suspected to be from the missing flight MH370 has washed ashore on the Indian Ocean island of Reunion. The object, believed to be the door of a Boeing 777 aircraft, has been discovered days after another part was found nearby. The first piece of Boeing 777 debris has arrived in Paris for analysis at a Defence Ministry laboratory in Toulouse. The Malaysia Airlines Boeing 77 travelling from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing disappeared in March 2014 with over 200 people on board. The massive search efforts for the aircrafts have been unsuccessful. However, after the recent discoveries, Malaysia's Transport Ministry says that it now wants to expand the search for more debris around Reunion. And 2 Turkish security personnel were killed while 31 others were wounded in a suicide bomb attack carried out by the Kurdistan Workers' Party. The attack was carried out with a tractor loaded with 2 tons of explosives. The suicide bomber drove the vehicle at a military police station and detonated. The wounded were transferred to a local state hospital in which 4 of them were in a critical condition. In a separate incident, 1 soldier was killed when a military vehicle detonated. 8 soldiers were also wounded. Armed attacks by the PKK militants have increased since last month after Turkey began airstrikes on PKK camps in Iraq. Now, Sunday's attacks have brought the number of security forces killed in attacks blamed on the PKK to at least 16 in the last 2 weeks. And some more international news in Global Buzz. Family members denied reports of the death of Jalaluddin Haqqani, the founder of the Haqqani militant network that has been blamed for some of Afghanistan's deadliest attacks against American targets. Haqqani, who is in his 70s, has been unwell in recent years. He has given up most of the day-to-day control of his Taliban-allied military network to his son, Sirajuddin. US Secretary of State John Kerry met his Egyptian Foreign Minister Sama Shukri in Cairo at the start of a regional tour. He will be co-chairing a session of the US-Egypt Strategic Dialogue, a forum that reaffirms the United States' long-standing partnership with Egypt. Kerry will then travel to Singapore, Malaysia and Vietnam, where several countries share US's concern about China's pursuit of territorial claims. NASA scientists captured a peanut-shaped asteroid named 1999 JD6 that approached close to Earth last weekend. The next time an asteroid will approach this close to Earth will be in the year 2054. The images show the asteroid is highly elongated with a length of approximately 2 kilometers on its long axis. NASA's asteroid tracking mission places a high priority on tracking asteroids and protecting Earth from them. And time to take another very short break. Up next, Indian women archers settle for silver against Russia in World Championship final. That and more details to follow. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's get you all the sporting action now. Well, the Indian women's recurve archery team won the silver at the World Championship final in Copenhagen. The team of Deepika Kumari, Lakshmi Rani Majhi and Rimil Buriuli had to settle for the silver as they lost 4-5 to Russia in an edge-of-the-seat encounter. The Indian trio were quick to get off the blocks to claiming the first 2 sets, but the Indians crumbled under pressure in the 4th set. The Russian team clinched the contest in a tiebreaker which ended 28-27 in their favour. And more sports news in Sports Beat. Rajya Chauhan earned the first ever individual medal for India in the World Archery Championships at Copenhagen in Denmark. The compound marksman bagged a silver after going down to home favourite Stephen Hansen in the final on Saturday. The 2014 Asian Games team gold medalist Rajya Chauhan went neck and neck till the 3rd set when he shot a poor 8 and 9 as Hansen gained a 3-point lead before wrapping up the game 147 to 143. The Mumbai Cricket Association today lifted the ban on Shah Rukh Khan from entering Wankhede Stadium. The decision was taken at the MCA's Managing Committee meet. The 5-year-old ban was imposed in 2012 after Shah Rukh Khan scuffled with the security personnel during the IPL tournament at Wankhede. German Cup winners Wolfsburg upset Bundesliga champions Bayern Munich on penalties to win their first domestic Super Cup on Saturday. Wolfsburg beat Bayern 5-4 in the penalty shootout. Arjen Robben's second-half strike from close range looked to have secured victory for Bayern, who was searching for their first Super Cup triumph since 2012 after successive defeats to Dortmund. Rafael Nadal defeated Italy's Andrea Seppi 6-1, 6-2 to reach the final of the Hamburg Open. 14 times Grand Slam champion Nadal has endured a difficult year as he surrendered his French Open title and suffered a shock defeat by Dustin Brown at the Wimbledon. He will now face Italy's Fabio Fognini for the third time this season, with the Italian claiming wins in Rio de Janeiro and Barcelona. Nadal has won the Hamburg title twice before. Well, that's all we have for you in this edition of News Tonight. But before we go, we'll leave you with these stunning visuals of 164 US skydivers falling head down, breaking the world record with the largest ever vertical skydiving formation. Well, take a look at this daredevil act as we take your leave. Thanks for watching. Good night.